Hey guys, welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Owarimonogatari. So, once again, kind of delayed, so it's not quite a Monogatari Monday, but hey, we're still trudging along, right? So, anyways, last episode, we ended with like a huge long monologue courtesy of Guyan, which basically told us what we already know at this point, which is Shinobu's first disciple, I guess you could call it, or first subordinate, first. I don't know what's the correct terminology to use here, right? Especially since we're not 100% sure of their sort of relationship quite yet, right? I do suspect that we'll learn a little bit more things once we unravel the entirety of this story right here. But it is that dude who's come back, and I guess he needs to be put down once again, presumably by either Shinobu or by Araki or by both of them. In any case, I just hope that in this episode, we have more of a back and forth dialogue, if any, and certainly some action would be welcome as well. So, with that in mind, let's get into the episode. All right, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Why? Mm-hmm. Why would the cat? Why would the cat be materializing 15 years ago? Because Hanekawa changed her name. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It's more so related with Araki than anything else. Oh. Hey, that's an interesting question, right? We were never really sure like uh why Kishot turned up here, all the way back in Kizu, right? You know, the first instance that we saw of her, right? Araki met her in the subway, right, where she was already basically half dead. So, why was she there? We know that she was being hunted by the vampire hunters and whatnot, but why was she specifically in this town and there? We never really went through all that. Or did we? Back in Kizu, I mean, if they did, it certainly didn't really stick with me, right? Maybe it wasn't all that important. I mean, they could have mentioned it in passing during one of the episodes, but I just totally forgot about it. 15 years ago. Did something happen in the shrine during that time? This is his hometown. Okay. Ah, was this shrine maybe something else 400 years ago? Meimei Onicha. Built this shrine and enshrined the spirit to control the area. So that's why she's so desperate to get a new guardian of this shrine? Or a new spirit for the shrine? Okay. So what it's implying here is that the charm would have still worked if it wasn't for, no, the first dude arriving here. But the actual kiss shot was there in that other timeline, wasn't she? Are those things related somehow? Okay. So those sort of like zombies was a result, or jiangxi I guess, were a result of that? Well, ain't that handy. It's kind of like, one of those fantasy stories where you got demon lords that were defeated and then trying to make their comeback or whatnot. Yeah, so what now? Prepare for a new deity? Used up item? For what? Alright. Okay. Find him and defeat him? Oh, so she isn't asking Araki to defeat him. She just wants him to find him. Okay. Mm. I mean, I don't doubt that, but does it really don't matter? You know, is there really not a little bit of emotion still left for that dude? Look at, look after. Is it an arrow one? An 18 plus one? Half half. Half half means half boy? But what the hell is half boy? Alright, never mind. Girl, son, half boy, or half half. I don't know what this reference is to. Probably some other popular light novels around the same time. I mean, you can buy. Never mind. Can't argue with that. Let's see. Is he going to meet someone right now? Well, we know that he's not. Why does that look like a guy? Oh, there it is. That's how you look like? Seriously? Okay. I definitely was not expecting a Bushonen here, but sure. I'll see you guys after this. Well, okay, so we got a lot more progress in this episode, I gotta say, and even though it was still all dialogue, this is what I am expecting more from Monogatari series, right? Where we do have this back and forth kind of dialogue, and also at the same time, in the background, on screen, we get a lot of interesting visuals as well that may or may not be related to what's being said, but that's also one of the interesting parts of the series, I feel. And certainly at the very end there, I was quite surprised that we got to sell number one, slave number one, or however you want to call it, as a Bishonen. So one of those more good-looking, handsome-looking guys, if you will. I do wonder if Kambaru's sort of like her sort of how can I put this? Her sort of segue into BL, into boys love, was kind of hinting at there being this Bishonen character appearing as well. So maybe we're gonna get a little bit of flavor of BL in the next episode between Araki and number one. So between number one and number two or something of that sort. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into it, and that's also just entirely random. But it is kind of fun to think about it, right? Especially since he's definitely looking a lot more different than I was expecting, considering that the last time we saw him, he was in a suit of armor and his voice was completely different as well. And by the way, it was quite obvious that Araki was going to bump into something or someone at the very end there, but I was really wondering who it could have been, because we certainly know that it's not Hanekawa nor is it Senjugahara, right? Because at the same time, he hasn't finished this particular Yeah, he hasn't finished this particular sequence of events yet, so he's not going to meet back with Senjugahara and Hanekawa until after being done with these events, right? So presumably there is going to be another battle sometime soon, presumably with number one, and then at the end of all that, then they will meet up with Hanekawa in her cat form, later on, maybe one day later or something of that sort. So yeah, but no, okay, so that answers that question. And as for the rest of this episode, what Guyan says definitely makes sense. The only thing that I still am having a big question mark about is, so what is relevant? What is so important about things happening 15 years ago? Like, originally I was thinking, okay, is this going to be something like when one of the characters is born, or something of that sort? Is it, that kind of importance, especially related to Araragi or whatnot? But no, Araragi is nearing 18 right now, right? He should be in his third year of high school, so he's either 17 or 18 right now, so definitely not that. Well, yeah, considering that Hanekawa was free 15 years ago, so he should be 18 right now. Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, why 15 years ago is such an important timing here. Certainly Guyan said that was at the same time when Onoki was made, right? But or for the Phoenix to have been rebirthed into Aragi's sister, but like, what's the important connection there? I don't understand. She didn't really explain too much about that as well. She only said that it was a connector, but how? What kind of connection here? It's definitely still very vague, all of this, so I'm still not entirely sure what she is meaning by that. I would have thought it made much more sense if, in fact, it was actually something that happened because Aragi and Shinobu traveled back to the past, back to the shrine 11 years ago, right? Where they saw the actual kiss shot as well, still in her kiss shot form. And maybe that was what attracted the ashes of number one to that place, and eventually allowing him to build up a more and more energy, or like, I don't know, whatever it is that they use, and eventually gain a form, right? But apparently that's not the case either, so that's the one part that I'm mostly stumped about at this point. And also thinking about what happened back in the time travel arc, right, where they met Kishon at that point. I do wonder though. So are those things actually related as well? So did Kishot, in Kishot form, was she also near that shrine because she knew that number one was there? Did she go crazy? Kind of go crazy because of that as well? Adding on to her mental anguish or whatnot. Now, those are definitely some questions that I have as of this point, because there's still a lot of things left unanswered, right? But presumably, we will know more about it directly through the mouth of number one throughout the next 2 episodes, and then we'll see what is actually up. And by the way, for Shinobu's side, as I mentioned in the episode, I do agree that she probably really treasures and cherishes Araki a lot more than number one at this point, but I also think it's not entirely a truth when she says that it doesn't, like, well, I guess to be fair, Shinobu didn't really say that she didn't care about number one anymore, right? She only said that it doesn't matter who's first and who's second, right? So, going by that logic, like, sure, she could view Aragi as more important, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't feel some sort of emotion towards number one. Now, what kind of emotion that actually is, like regret or whatever kind of sadness, regret, pain, whatever it is that she feels towards number one, I do presume that there is still something of that going on. Otherwise, she wouldn't have to be so defensive about it in the first place, right? So again, that is something that we will see in the next few episodes here. Still curious why Kanbaru is exactly needed for all this. I'm presuming it's because of the monkey's paw or something of that sort, but still, why her, right? Why specifically her? So that's one thing, and then the other thing is, I guess at the end of the day, I just want to know, like, how exactly Evolved is related, right? I've always been operating under the assumption that Araragi and Kishot meeting was just due to chance, and someone who has actually made actual contact with aberrations will be eventually more and more inclined to getting into more situations with aberrations in the future, right? I think I mentioned that theory before, and I actually think that in one of the past few episodes that was also confirmed, right? The fact that you do have a relation with aberrations will actually lead you on to having more and more run-ins with aberrations. So once you step into this world, you can't really just step back at that point, right? Which, I guess it doesn't really go against anything that we learned here, right? And the only difference is that perhaps Kishot was here at that point because she was trying to search for, maybe just based on hunch, maybe not even knowing that there was a chance that number one would be revived, but simply wanting to visit the hometown of number one, right? And that was a pretty big revelation here, right? And then due to her being here, meeting with Araragi, as fate would have it, then, having made contact with Araragi, so Araragi eventually, gets into contact with more and more aberrations. Although I guess that also doesn't really make much sense in a way, since, the Phoenix, right, is literally living with him. But I think there's still a difference between just having, because, like, come on, if this is more on the mechanics side of things, and this is just my theory here, but if we are going by this sort of world setting and world building, you could say that aberrations are constantly living amongst or within humans or whatnot, right? Just normal people don't see them and don't have contact to them. So I guess it doesn't really matter whether or not the Phoenix is actually one of Aragi's sisters, but it's still more important for Aragi to have actually made contact and acknowledged the existence of aberrations, and that is the catalyst to everything else happening, right? So that's my kind of theory on how the world of Monogatari works, right? Of course, then, there's still another meta discussion to this as well, which is what I keep on emphasizing, and how aberrations are really just a sort of representation of mental problems and whatnot, and then that gets all complicated as well. But anyways, I feel like I'm rambling on a little bit too much on that. In any case, I do want to see quickly, like, what exactly the gist of the situation is, and I want to know a little bit more about what exactly was so important 15 years ago, and why are all those events, which are seemingly unrelated, related. So anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.